And thank you guys for coming. And we have Q&A. So if you guys, we have Curran, one of our other teammates. He's got a mic. If you guys have questions, we would love to have ladies answer. We did Alan take it? All right, then you can come and take my mic.
Ooh, Mary Lou.
Ron has one. Ron has one. It's just a button on the bottom.
I fear the challenge of Mary Lou's questions.
It's ladies' night, so Mary Lou goes first.
Hello. Okay.
All right, we got our mic coming over.
We
got the mic's coming right now.
What are you waiting for?
Well, it's important because we're recording the audio. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's got a question?
Yes, right here. Yeah.
So this is awesome.
Because you're awesome.
You're awesome.
I came because I knew Nichol and Maryanna and got to McKenzie. And as I heard you talk, I'm older than all of you, and I think I turned 7 in 1972, and I don't think the conversation has changed very much since then. Yes, we're beyond slavery, but it's been the same conversation every decade with the same women, and it's not moving forward. And the backdrop of this, of the hearings yesterday, is just somewhat appalling. I'm the same age as Brett Kavanaugh, and when I'm reference checked, it comes out that I'm assertive, aggressive, ambitious. In other words, I don't get to hear about, and I don't get the job. And I wonder if you can speak to that on this night. I actually haven't seen any of the things because I've been busy working because I have a job, and I'm sure you guys too, but sorry, tough question. And McKenzie, great to meet you. And I came just because you're the future. You are the future. Amazing what you've said. And
So are you.
no.
You are.
No,
So what was the what's the final
comment
question?
on the no, the question, right? Well, so the question is, has the conversation evolved?
Since 1972,
Okay.
I started keeping track of the years at age 7, and I just it could be the same.
I'm
the
with you,
conversation
Mary Lou,
evolved?
and I think the thing that I get frustrated with, like I'm speaking at a small satellite conference, which if any of you want to talk about really old, stodgy industries, like come hang out in the space race with me. And it's infuriating, and I'm on this panel that's about like culture in space companies, and I kind of yelled a little bit because I am not as serene as my amazing co-panelists. On the call that was like the prior to panel prep. And I basically said that. I was like, this conversation has not evolved, and I am so sick of participating. I think this conversation was interesting, but like the ones of like, how do we do a better job with diversity? And so I think that the thing that we have to do is stop applauding ourselves for having the conversation and get really functional. Say like, okay, great, what are the tools? Like, how do we fix it? How do we not only enable but proliferate cognitive diversity in our workplaces? And how do we allow people who aren't comfortable speaking up to have the tools and the channels in which to do so? And how does technology enable that? And that's why I get so excited about the things that like Mary Lou is building with this like brain-to-brain interaction where maybe we have a set of tools in the future where we can start understanding each other because we're bad at creating it in social context. So maybe we can just like plug into each other's matrix and have some deeper understanding at some point. So I don't know how we advance the conversation, but I'm working really hard to fund technologies that help us advance the conversation because we kind of suck at it. And I don't know how to fix that. But I'm with you. I'm so frustrated.
Can I ask you a question, Mary Lou? Have you seen a difference in I know you said it's the same conversation, the same outrage, but one of the things that feels different to me from a few years ago is I think women are getting way more aggressive, and I'm happy about that. Like, it's like things that used to be okay, that people used to be able to get away with, they're not able to completely get away with it anymore. And a part of that, I guess, is social media and some other things, but it seems like it's way more visible. and that there's that there are at least some consequences. Do you think that that's true or not true?
Yes, and I think that your point about slavery, and it's so long ago, or is it so long ago? I mean, or the civil rights movement, and
Not very long ago.
The social change is so pathetically slow, and yet I suppose, yeah, sure, it was Anita Hill in 1991, and this is a little bit better now. There's a 1-week FBI. Okay, so that's progress. Yes, I went to college with guys like that, in high school with guys like that. I am the same age as Brett Kavanaugh. Seems to be better now that people seem to be appalled, but like, it's just so rare that you three exist. It's so rare that some of us in the room exist, and it could be, and yet we have kind of football players that get drunk every night that get to swirl in the same, the mediocre men who prevail, and from what I've seen, the absolutely appalling views of the old white male senators that exist that still control our government, and they will die. Yes, they will die. They're older, and there will be new. We won't, unfortunately, live forever. Ray Kurzweil, I believe, is wrong, but it's just so painful. How do we speed this up? Because the anger and fear and the love, yeah, those are the emotions. But how do we? It just seems so appallingly slow. And even as Gloria Steinem says, she gets exhausted at some times when she looks back at her career, and she's taken these multi-year breaks where she doesn't work on women's rights because it's so damn exhausting. And then she gets like, okay, I took a decade off, I'll get back into it. But like, I'm at wit's end after just reading and not even seeing the stuff in the last 2 days, and just this being the Friday night after Senator Flake, who I'd never heard of before, decided, I mean, why does it take somebody called Senator Flake, who's basically, chased down in an elevator by women sexual assault survivors, to sort of flip and like, okay, we can have a 1-week investigation? Like, it seems very slow. Is the flip side.
I think for me, from my perspective, because I come up very masculine. I was raised, my mom has 9 brothers and sisters, so there's 10 of them. Out of the 10, 7 of them are female, and they're like boulder shoulders, like they just don't, they're just very strong women. They're not even strong, they just, and maybe because they just had to come together to stay together, because my grandparents died when they were all fairly young, so they had to, they were raised to be tough in survival, but they've taught me 3 words: cut the head. Is it cut the head? Yeah, cut the head. And you have to be aggressive and just go for it. And a lot of women were not taught to do that. Men are taught to do that.
Yeah, straight on. Yeah,
but we need more women
that's
to
all
do
good
that.
for us, for people, but there's this half
but
of humanity.
We need more women to not give a F. I'm not going to say the word, but we need more women to not give a fuck and just go for it. And that's it. And so me and Telly just go. I would say it's more Telly than me, because men, especially in the Caribbean, they'll say, "Oh, you little girl," and I was like, "Well, I'm 37 years old. What is he talking about?" They're like, "Oh no, you have little girls," and I'm like, "Okay."
Oh,
So
Oh,
it's,
no.
yeah, it's really bad.
This is where I punch people.
It's
This is
really
why
bad, right, exactly. So then you just have to just take that head on. You don't have to be overtly emotional, but you do have to have a tactic and a strategy, and you just have to there's no wrong or right way to do it. Just don't get overtly emotional, and just throw it back in their face, and men don't like that. So
Mary Lou, I
any
think
kind of man.
I may have something interesting, because you say cut the head for women, like go for it, be aggressive, get your goal, get that what you want. I think for men, or at least for me, and I think for several other men that maybe follow the juicy heart mentality, is this idea of looking at the trauma and feeling the most visceral parts of the trauma of what we went through with slavery and what we went through with Native Americans, what we went through with women, and feeling it in as much fullness as possible, and then helping others integrate it into their being, and then being able to move forward as an ally for equality of opportunity.
You mean from a men's perspective?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that a rational man
respect
would
that.
think that way, yeah. But irrational man is not going to think that way. It's like a boomerang. Whatever they throw at you, you throw it back at them, you know? That's the only way men like that are going to learn.
Yeah. Let it get out. Yeah.
Hit the head with the boomerang.
I like
Yeah.
that. I want to get that on a t-shirt.
So I will be super quick. I just want to thank you so much. One of the most interesting panels I was at because of the diverse opinions you have and your ability as speakers as well. Alan, that was amazing. I'm so glad I'm here. I wish more people heard you. Nichol, if I would know what kind of gem you are as a speaker, I would never let you go when I met you before you promised me to come to some event and speak again. Like, I'm just amazed.
Well, thank you.
And I'm amazed by all of you. Just Nichol, I saw her already. I met her. And I need to run, and I will reach out to all of you, and I will be convincing you to come speak again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aw, thank you.
Nichol, what are some of the meditation practices that you feel like express your being the most, or you like the most?
So my first awakening was through Vipassana. So it's like body scanning, because I was a very like head-oriented mental person, and Vipassana is like 10 days of body scanning, and I think that gave me balance. I think someone else who is very physical would do really well with very mental techniques like direct inquiry or other things like that. So different things work for different people. Currently, I am following Dan Brown, not the novelist, but he's a Tibetan Buddhist meditation teacher. He's an extraordinary teacher. He really understands how to teach to the Western mind. And so it's open awareness, Tibetan Bon. That's what I'm doing right now.
Awesome.
All right.
We have more time. Yeah, we have more time
Can I
for
ask a
question.
question?
Yeah, go for it, Kurt.
Yeah. So I was interested by what you were saying about humanity's need for a new narrative.
Oh, me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And I've been following, not just what was happening this week in Washington, but what's been happening sort of on an ongoing basis. And I've been wondering, companies from time to time, circumstances change, right? Markets change, culture changes, governance practices change, and companies from time to time will go through a restructuring. It's like no big deal. Hey, we're gonna move this department around. We're gonna change the way we elect our board. We're gonna, do so on and so forth. And I'm wondering whether I know none of you are, as far as I know, subject matter experts in this, but as sort of unusually intelligent lay people, do any of you have thoughts on the possibility of some kind of a restructuring of North American governance, whether that might be desirable, what that might look like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
we're all
not
ready
just because I had lunch with Tim Draper a couple weeks ago, who's slightly been championing the California
Right.
secession movement. I think there's an interesting thing, right? I've spent a lot of time looking at, countries come up with these, or anthropologists come up with these happiness vectors, which are, as a scientist, I kind of struggle with self-reporting data on happiness, but it's fine. And so if you look, like places like Norway have these like ridiculously high happiness indices, and people are like, well, let's be like more like Norway. And then you think, okay, well, it's a pretty mono-ethnic society with excellent social welfare and honestly just a very small population in a rather landlocked place. And I think about that, well, if that's actually what we want to optimize for, then maybe you want to optimize for a bunch of self-similar city-state fracturing of this massive diverse group, because turns out that you can't make most people happy if you take a massive diverse group of people and then try to apply one set of constructs to them, because there's always going to be a bunch of people who are deeply upset. From an economic theory perspective, that doesn't really close a lot of the time. And so I end up reading a lot of science fiction, and I think about what the future looks like when we move into a world where, what if people could like download other people's consciousnesses, and then you could just like vote as, you know, one entity of a person who believes in a particular class of philosophies? And then how do you break up like government structures in that sense? So I think as a layperson in this space, the way that I think about it is, the way the US is set up right now feels really unstable and also basically arcane, but I'm not sure that we'll know how to do anything proactive about it without it kind of self-destructing. What I get really excited about is I see a lot of countries basically leaping all of our, like cross-leaping all of our social constructs. Like you see a lot of African nations going mobile first, distributed currency first. Like really, really interesting technology is enabling fundamentally different social constructs in Africa because they don't have all this like electoral college crap to, you know, get over. And so just, yeah, the leapfrogging I think is super interesting. What I fear is that we're not going to be able to leapfrog here. So I don't know how we leapfrog our own current status, but I'm super unhappy with it.
I could talk about this all day long.
Yeah.
That's a good writing prompt, how to leapfrog. How do we leapfrog? Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be a leapfrog. I think we have to, there's three things I want to say. I'm trying to make them really short. First, how this country was built was in error. That has to be corrected. And I think the best way to do that is to destroy it and start over. Sorry, it's just, it's just how it is.
Amen.
And also this whole structure of conservative versus liberal, and you know, I'm probably shouldn't say this because I am definitely a minority in the room, but I am a conservative, I'm a black conservative. I was raised in the South. I am a libertarian Republican, I'm a proud libertarian Republican, but I'm not a crazy Republican. You know, so I still agree with a lot of my liberal colleagues and stuff, and people my age. So I think at some point we're going to have to just leave those labels, just walk away from them, both of us, liberals and conservative, and just do the right thing. I'm waiting for us to do that, and I was hoping our generation would do that. I'm really still hoping that it's us, because we're like nearing 40 years. Like we'll be 40, like millennials will be 40 in a couple of years, and we're still doing this, and I think that would probably solve the problem that you're talking about. Like we just keep going in this circle or whatever, but we're going in this circle politically.
Every 10 years.
Yeah.
After living through that lie, my entire life.
Yeah.
I don't believe each generation, 10 years younger, is just going to solve it.
Yeah. And
it's a great lie.
Yeah.
That they teach you when you're 19 that you're usually it.
Yeah. But I think the next generation, I don't know if you guys have any kids. I don't have kids, but I have a lot of little cousins or whatever. They are fearless. I think they can really, really do it. And then the last thing I want to say.
How is that different in your generation or my generation or the generation?
I think because of technology.
Awful baby boomers.
Oh, for the conversation, let's just bring the mic over quick. Yeah.
When they're 18 years old, that's why they're made to be cannon fodder.
That's true.
It is actually hormonal, and that's why the boys particularly are inscripted to die on the sword or like it's not true. It's a great lie. That's the problem I have with it.
I think
it seems
the
like a
next
great lie that
generation-
each generation believes.
I think the next generation is two things. They're not gender, male and female it's not a thing to them. So they're growing up having all these different labels and stuff like that. It's not just male and female. They have other labels, and also they don't respect adults. They know that we're wrong. They just know that we're wrong, and they don't care, and they will call out an adult in a heartbeat. And just spend a day in a public school. Just spend a day in a public school in Middle America. They do not respect adults, and they're little tyrants, and I like it. You know. You know. But the third, yeah. It's not new, but I think maybe because of technology, and I don't know, I'm not putting all the trust in technology, but I just see them being a lot more bolder than what we were. We were taught to, we were raised on Care Bears, and so I don't think it's going to be us, but.
So Mary Lou, maybe this doesn't hold, but the one thing that feels possibly new is for every person who is actually on the fringe because they're gay, because they don't feel like they fit into their family, because whatever the reason that whatever set of constructs was applied to them at birth and in their community, they shed, and not just out of teenage rebellion, but truly don't feel like a part of that. It feels easier for those people today to find their digital tribes and feel more comfort faster. And maybe I'm wrong, but that feels like a shift. Yeah. So maybe it takes 2 or 3 generations for that to sink.
Okay,
Am I wrong?
Can we just quickly bring the mic over? Yeah. And
I know, I'm just trying so hard to be an optimist.
So I'm feeling particularly downtrodden too, because here we are,
week.
and it's 2018, the evangelical so-called Christian patriarchy is rearing its ugly head and is not dying.
I know.
I think we're also
the overall.
One more thing, we have
the overall
hordes
numbers,
of white men supporting the rape of teenage girls now to try to get somebody on the Supreme Court and normalizing it.
Okay.
So that is 2018 this week.
All right.
Trying to say, who cares if you were molested? It's not significant. Literally that's happening. And so I'm just pushing back on social change.
Yeah,
but it's also a business model that needs to be exposed, and my aunt's a lawyer, and she's been threatened several times on this. But pedophilia is it's a business model in America that needs to be talked about a lot more. And it's not underground. It's our government's deeply embedded in that, and I think that needs to be exposed. I think that's the next thing that needs to really, really be exposed. Can I just say the third thing I wanted to say
very quick, yes.
Okay, really quickly. So last week I spent a week in Singapore, and I was just boasting about how awesome it is because it was clean, it was orderly, we had no homeless people, we had no people screaming outside and stuff like that. And at the end of the trip, someone told me, oh, well, they're kind of quasi-communist. And I'm like, what? Huh? Because I'm conservative. And I'm like, wait a minute. This is not what they're talking about. I mean, if that's quasi, what is it? Quasi-communist?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do have the death penalty.
It's
but
such a constrained society.
Not in Singapore.
In Disneyland, the death penalty describes Singapore.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked it. Maybe because I went in for business, but I.
Yeah.
It's illegal to chew gum, but I kind of like that. I was even shocked that I did like that, and I embraced that experience as a conservative. So I think we're all, it's just, I think we're going through this process of just evolving. We haven't got to the end of this age of whatever this stage of life is. So I think it'll all be a melting pot of everything, hopefully, the good stuff.
I'm kind of at my end. I'm sorry, I have a long drive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
even
Okay,
know
that's
what
it.
time it is.
This has been a great Q&A section
midnight.
at the end of the Women in Alliance event. Awesome.
it's
Thanks
at night.
everybody for coming out. Thank you our panelists so much. Next upcoming things that we got going on, we got an event coming up in partnership with Psychedelic Seminars on microdosing on October 22nd. We're really looking forward to that. Come and check that out at Mission Bay Conference on October 22nd. I'm giving a TEDx talk on powerful questions on October 9th, which is really exciting. And then we'll have another couple cool events on the future of education, the future of social media in November. So look forward to those. Thank you everybody for coming out. Much
Thank
love.
you guys.
Thank you.